Hi. After a year and a half of teaching on my own, I have had the opportunity to experience various classroom settings filled with children who have these distinct learning differences. Through this exposure, I have come to find that these two trending topics are what I am most passionate about in special education: teacher licensure and early intervention or prevention program. Both of these will act as a tool to better guide and educate my students. The first I like to talk about is teaching licensure. Why? I began my teaching career with an outdated mindset that there was one mundane standard method of teaching. In my youth, everyone was taught with the same general approach and was expected to follow as the teacher moved out of the lesson. There were no individualized lesson plan (IEP) or varied method of learning or even an understanding or specialized education. If you were falling behind, you simply weren't working hard enough. That was the ideology and philosophy. Challenging me even more, I was placed into an integrated classroom with students that had a clear need for further assistance. So imagine my lack of preparedness starting my career as an educator. Through getting to know my students better, I quickly learned to diversify my teaching methods and create a target-focused goal for each student. I got to know one student really well through this shift in my teaching technique. His name was Jacob, and he demonstrated the obvious sign of special needs student falling behind in newly opened private school. I suspected he had some version of an attention deficiency disorder. Halfway through my general education program at this time, I wasn't well equipped to assist or educate Jacob in the way he needed, really. There was no IEP for none of the students. However, I did not give up. That did not stop us. As his teacher, it was my role to make an effort to understand how best to facilitate his learning. I needed to find a way to focus my lesson on guiding him to independently grasp the material. I began to incorporate varied learning tools in my lesson based on strengths he's shown over the course of the marking cycle. These included hand-on projects, technology-assisted math game, and student-led board work. As a math teacher, it was easy for me to create guided instructions on the board through step-by-step example on how to solve problem set. I encouraged paired work in the classroom to promote peer lead. I developed various versions of tests dependent on his capabilities compared to the rest of the class while still maintaining and upholding my state standard curriculum criteria. And while I was able to customize my learning based on my student population, I still somehow felt not well trained when it came to teaching kids like Jacob. This is why I am enthusiastic about the idea of teaching licensure for special education. It's critical we help these kids combat the challenges they meet in the classroom. With a specialized license, we can have a greater impact in our classroom by effectively adapting our teaching style, managing diverse classrooms while maximizing resources, and helping our students accept classroom diversity. According to National Center of Education statistics, the number of students aged 3 to 21 in 2015 and 16 receiving special education services was 6.7 million, or almost 13% of public school students. These are only including properly diagnosed students. There is a high demand of teaching licensure in special need, but unfortunately, not many of us are out there. This brings me to my next current trend in special education, which is the early intervention. I met Jacob when he was in 5th grade class. At this point in my teaching career, I was familiar with the idea of an early intervention prevention program thanks to my Teach Now courses work, of course. Once I identify students like Jacob in my classroom, I went looking for the intervention team in my institution to help me locate the individualized education program, or IEPs, for each student that needs specialized attention. An IEP document is designed to be planned instruction on how to best support children like Jacob. IEPs are created to include the student's strengths, weaknesses, and how the school is planned to help build on these skills. To my disbelief, my school did not have an intervention program set in place. In fact, there was not a document like this ever created for Jacob, because no one was aware of these education needs. Up until now, Jacob was able to go year to year unnoticed with his challenges. Bringing awareness to his case allowed me build relationship with his parents and get them more involved in his educational development. We were a bit late in this children intervention. We were able to unconventionally curate and individualized education program. Additionally, we got Jacob in contact with intervention services like screening and assessment, as well as psychological and social work services. Other services available include, but not limited to, screening and assessment, which is like speech and language therapy, physical or occupational therapy, psychological services like home visit, medical, nursing or nutrition services, hearing or vision services. There is also social work services. The need for an intervention or prevention program in my school became obvious. From my own experience, I can testify that early intervention supports families in achieving their own goal for their children, promote generalized use of skills, and prevent the emergence of future problems of disabilities. Early intervention lays on foundation that will be built on to improve the life and education of a child. It enhances the development of a child with any needs, while also providing assistance and support to encourage and empower families of children with needs. At the end of the day, Jacob was a boy suffering from ADHD and falling through the cracks of a flawed system. This is not to confront my institution's shortcoming, but rather emphasize a need for early intervention programs in our communities. While there may be teachers like me that put in the extra effort to educate our students, it takes a collaborative approach from families and intervention program to assist and guide our students to their deserved educational success. Thank you very much.